Shalom, family. Thank you so much for joining us this week for this week's weekly news updates. Always a pleasure and a privilege for us to sit with you, join with you on these hot summer days. It's getting warm out there. I don't know if you wherever you are, maybe it's not warm. But here, boy, oh boy, if we had some hot weather. We have had lots of rain, so thank you for those that have been praying for rain and praying for us. We certainly appreciate that. Here, let me get this situated properly. Thank you. And it's certainly been wonderful having an expansion of those that are here with us, and certainly grateful for those that are part of our house and are participating with us in all the things that we're doing. So we're certainly excited for you who are here with us and thankful for every one of you that join us. We go over these weekly news stories on a weekly basis as opposed to daily or hourly or every time something comes up, because otherwise they will drive you crazy. And we don't want you to go crazy. We don't want you filled with anxiety. We don't want you to be overwhelmed. And that's why we like to say we like to be informed without being overwhelmed. And that's exactly what will happen if you allow them to do that to you. They give you, too many updates, too much. Have you ever had people do that to you where they're just, it's almost like TMI. It's too much information and it overdoes it to you. And it's not good. And so we need to be informed. So we didn't want to go completely disconnecting. So that was too far. And finding that middle ground has been quite a challenge. But this weekly review has really been working. And for those of you, again, catching up for the first time, we do have our broadcast here on YouTube, as well as Facebook, as well as Rumble. So for those of you, no matter where you're watching us from, you can go on over to remnantwatch.com. You'll find all the stories that we're going to be covering here. And also, on this banner, of course, it takes you to the YouTube link, but at least you can find a broadcast, quickly if you're running late, like I sometimes am. Okay, and here we have a search bar that's handy for you to pick up any of the stories that are, either in the past or maybe something you're looking for quickly. If you're going to share it with somebody, and that's something that I have found very effective, is sometimes sharing news stories that are reflective of Bible prophecy, reflective of the scripture, reflective of the times, the signs of the times, right? And then I'm able to share it with people. And because it's, kind of already there and handy, it makes it easy for us to sort through stories that will be, encouraging and positive in our effort to encourage those to seek the truth and find salvation. And so it's very important that we do that. And we can't forget our responsibilities in evangelism, right, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, after all, we are called to do the work of an evangelist. And that means take advantage of these opportunities, take advantage of the news stories, as bad as they may be. And as much as we don't like them, we still take advantage of it because, well, we don't let that crisis go to waste. And just like the enemy doesn't let them go to waste, we shouldn't either. And so we should be using every one of those so they don't have to be repeated. All right. Some people are considering continuing in calamity because somebody doesn't warn them that they're in the curse and they need to repent. Amen. And so maybe you and one of our brethren need to go to them and shine light in this darkness so they can finally get free. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Amen. And so that's why we try to use every tool we can, whether it's news, evangelism discussions, Shabbat services, everything we can, as much as we can do publicly to shine our light before men. And on that note, let's get into the news. And tonight's top story, the Arab world, the place where the scripture is written about. Now, this is Middle East, right? So right where the scripture is speaking of. And the Arab world is anxious about the new Middle East war order, the new world order. And there's all these pictures now of all these things that they're trying to promote with Trump and all of this. And so if the Arab-Israel ceasefire seems to be holding at the moment, Arab capitals are relieved about the de-escalation, but they are also alarmed of what the latest flare-up means for the Middle East. And its reception in the Arab Gulf was at least frosty. The Iranian regime role in propping in Bashar al-Assad's rule in Syria, one of the most devastating in modern Arab history, combined with its nefarious influence in Iraq and Lebanon, ensured the Gulf states such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain saw the deal not as a diplomatic breakthrough, but as an endorsement of a destabilizing actor. So when President Donald Trump withdrew from the JCPOA in 2018, these same states applauded the move. So they wanted a change. Now the question is, will they like the change they got? Sometimes you get change, you don't like the change. Sometimes you go out of the frying pan. How many of you ever gone out of the frying pan in the fire? You ever thought, like you changed jobs and you thought the next job was going to be great, and then you get there and you're like, I shouldn't have left. Right? How many people have grass is the greener on the other side of the fence? And it's not the fence. It's not the good. The horse don't look so good. So, unfortunately, they ran into that reality that we all have run into. And I think we're going to continue to see buyer's remorse throughout the nations all over the world. You got to be careful before you give away these awards or start clapping for these political leaders, thinking they're your best friend, when a lot of times they just have another agenda and they used you to get in office, and that's all it was. Meanwhile, again, we continue to see devastation in the Middle East, speaking of which, and this is a very disturbing thing for us to continue to watch. So we do not take sides, remember, ladies and gentlemen, in these types of things and these conflicts, because what we just see are people and children. And it doesn't matter to us what color they are, and it doesn't matter to us what the political issue is. We just can't think of a good reason for a bomb. And here we're seeing, of course, more children. And this I cannot explain. This was unleashed in one of the largest bombardments in weeks, killing 58 people, including a cafe filled with 20 people. I'm really struggling to understand, especially having grown up in the era that I did, and anything like this would have been called something very nefarious and wicked. And it's just being reported in the news like it's just part of a normal day. They killed a journalist that was there, a photographer, and that's the 186th of these journalists that have been killed. Folks, again, we don't take sides in these things. We just take note. I said we don't take sides. We take note. And there's no good use of some of these things. So we will wait to see where they end up. But this is very disturbing. Please continue to pray for the remnant, for the people of the believers, wherever they are in the earth, but especially those in the Middle East. So now there's a lot of concern as to what does this mean and what's this new order going to look like. Meanwhile, they're not done with the current battle and current situation. Despite the ceasefire, there's still tremendous concern in the region as fears over Iran's 400 kilograms of uranium. So satellite images show the theatrical performance for what it was. I said satellite images show the theatrical performance for what it was. And if you can't read between those lines, I really can't help you. So satellite images show lines of truck at Fordo before the strikes, with analysts suggesting materials were frantically removed. Do that look frantic? Looks pretty organized to me. Doesn't look frantic at all. Doesn't look like there's cars racing in and skidding in. They love to make these things sound a certain way. Iran claims to have smuggled almost all of its country's highly enriched uranium to a secret location before the U.S. launched strikes on its nuclear bases. 3 of Tehran's most critical enrichment facilities, including its underground facility at Fordo, were pummeled by B-2 stealth bombers and a barrage of submarine-launched missiles early on Sunday morning. But officials believe that most of the material at Fordo and Iran's other facilities had been moved elsewhere before the strikes. Iran has vowed to continue enrichment of uranium in defiance of Donald Trump, raising further concerns over its nuclear program. So this is far from over, since they're thumbing their nose saying, we still have the weapons. We still have the weapons of... Well, at least we're not wondering if they have weapons of mass destruction, because they're admitting that. They're admitting the uranium. So at least that part. I don't know if it's weapons grade or anything, but at least they're admitting it. So that much we know, at least it's real. At least there's something there that they were moving. They don't bring all the trucks in for nothing. So at least there was something that they were moving. So that part we can say for sure that at least it was something there. Now the question is whether or not, it was a significant enough thing. I don't know. The New York Times is now reporting that this strike only set them back a couple of months. So are we going to see this again in a couple of months? Are we just going to keep going over and keep blowing things up? Is that the new plan? I don't know. Preliminary classified findings indicate that the attack sealed off the entrances of two facilities, but did not collapse their underground buildings. And again, we're watching, I think, in my opinion, guys, and again, this is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. You can file it circularly in the basin over here if you like. It doesn't matter to me. But in my opinion, it's theatrics. I feel like we're being manipulated. It's all theatrical. And it just feels too scripted. Too scripted. Just a little too scripted. Okay. And that part, I just keep watching going, this is interesting. And so when I saw these trucks lined the way they were and what have you, and this is days before, you got to know if you're watching targets because you're going to hit that target, you got to know you got to know that those are moving something. That's right in your face, right? So that's why I think a lot of this may be theatrical, and it's why it's interesting that we don't get ourselves too excited, too overwhelmed by any of it. We stay calm, we stay rational, and keep watching the situation in light of Bible prophecy. That's all I'm suggesting. Just keep watching the situation in light of Bible prophecy. Keep taking the 10,000-foot view. Don't get too caught up. And Israel reportedly knows the location of Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles, according to a Saudi outlet. So apparently now this information is coming out into the public, sort of to let the people know that, they now know where the stuff is. So now it's going to be, pressure's going to build. You know how they like to say that public pressure has built to, or something like that, right? Saudi Arabia news outlet Al-Hadath reported on Tuesday, citing an anonymous Israeli security source, that Israel knows exactly where Iran is keeping the stockpiles of enriched uranium. Okay, that could just be bravado, right? The official who spoke to Al-Hadath further claimed that most of the rich uranium is buried underneath the rubble in Iran. Okay, and again, that sounds to me like a report of bravado, but it's making the news, and I think it makes the news on the Jerusalem Post for a reason. So that's why we bring it up, because it's feeding into narrative. And whenever we see things feeding into narrative, we take a moment to look at them, right? We take a moment to say, whoa, what are we looking at here? What are we really watching here? What's really happening? Are we watching a real event, or are we watching a narrative be created with an event as part of a narrative? That's a reasonable question. I don't think that's an unreasonable, and given the atmosphere that we've grown up, all of us, in an actor's atmosphere where things are scripted, where we're entertained on television, I don't think it's unreasonable for people to say, well, is this a scripted event? Was this a Hegelian dialectic type of situation? Totally reasonable to ask that question. And I think it's reasonable to pursue those answers and have a public discourse. That is what, if they're saying democracies end their threat, well, that's a basic tenet of democracy, the open discourse and discussing those things openly. And now, speaking of openly, some of the intelligence that's coming out from the Middle East is disturbing. So here we're all talking about Iran. You might have wanted to mention their neighbor, Pakistan. According to U.S. intelligence, concludes that Pakistan is developing nukes that could reach America, according to a certain report here. U.S. intelligence, of course, Mediaite, I guess that's what that Mediaite. U.S. intelligence officials have concluded that Pakistan is developing an intercontinental ballistic missile, an ICBM, capable of reaching the United States in a move that, if confirmed, could redefine geopolitics. The revelation is buried in a broader analysis of global nuclear risks published in a new article in Foreign Affairs that suggests that Pakistan's strategic ambitions may be expanding far beyond its neighborhood. Dun, dun, dun. Stay tuned. We may need more intervention in that part of the world, right? And so here we go, folks. And didn't Pakistan just have a brief encounter with India where there was the potential, there was even the threat, there was even the discussion that there might be a nuclear exchange? And now we're seeing that Pakistan, the same country, one of the countries on the road for the kings of the East, so a country in the way, is now in the place where they're going to be developing nuclear weapons, or going to be developing ICBM nuclear weapons, I should say, threatening the furthest regions of the world from that place. They can reach one or the other. I mean, they can reach the United States. They can reach everything else in between. Because that changes, as they said, the geopolitical situation. So stand by. Do you think they're going to allow that to remain? Do you think they're going to let that stand? I doubt it. I would expect to see a Gaddafi moment here coming up shortly. I mean, what do you think? I'd love your thoughts in the comments, because that would be what I would expect to see. Oops, Pakistan, you probably shouldn't have told them that. You probably shouldn't have told them that, right? Things are not going to go good for you now. Now you're going to get some marine activity, okay? And getting back to Iran. Now, Iran doesn't seem to want to go, quietly into the night. They want to continue to beat their chest. The top Iranian cleric is issuing a fatwa against Trump and Netanyahu. So, of course, they're pretty upset about what's happened. And one could hardly argue or disagree that they should probably be pretty upset about what they've experienced. A religious decree follows a 12-day conflict where Trump-backed operations damaged Iran's nuclear capabilities. And of course, this is a Shiite cleric who's issuing a religious decree against President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And of course, the fatwa from is basically any individual or government, that challenges, if you will. And so, of course, these are very dangerous things, because these are things that essentially validate or authorize, extra folks into this conflict. And that's something that we've been actually trying to keep an eye on and paying attention to over this last few months, because there's been concern about sleeper cells and things like that. So will this now activate those? We don't know. We're going to have to watch and see. It's all the more reason for us to be sober and vigilant in this time period. And of course, Israel's not helping things in this time. I mean, it's just, continuing to sort of stoke the anger of the Arab community with things like this, with the blow up of that cafe we just saw, which, again, they're going to have to explain that. I don't know how you do, but okay, they'll have to explain that. And then here, Israel considers a new Gaza offensive, unlike the previous invasions, as hostage talks falter. So now military sources told Walla that the largest civilian displacement of the Palestinian population in Gaza since the beginning of the war is being considered. They're going to move them again. Okay, so this is really horrific to watch, guys. I'm sorry. I don't care what side you are on. This is not good to watch. And so basically they're having discussions, and there's an ongoing debate as to whether to press forward militarily or declare the war's main objectives achieved. And I'm not really sure what remains to be achieved. I mean, they've basically reduced the thing to a parking lot. People are already dying left and right just from, deprivation. They've got themselves a humanitarian crisis on their hands. From my estimation, what are your folks thinking? It looks to me very horribly like a humanitarian crisis more than anything else. And I don't see that as being a war zone. It seems to me like something else. So I'm interested in your thoughts, because frankly, that has been bothersome to me. And meanwhile, we continue to see headlines like this, where, Trump and Netanyahu have a two-state vision, and Gaza's war's end, Abraham Accords are expanding, or their expansion. And so this has been taking up the news cycle now, has been that they've reached a consensus on fundamental principles in general terms, and the Gaza hostilities to conclude within the 2 weeks. So not right away, a couple more weeks, but, we're only going to do a couple more weeks worth of stuff, and then we're going to be done. Okay. And of course, these conversations continue to go on. We continue to see these pictures, which are depicting, the world leaders sort of lining up with Trump, or at least the Middle East leaders lining up with Trump. Noticeably absent is Erdogan. Noticeably absent is the Egyptian leader. I don't remember seeing him. He may have been there, but Erdogan is definitely missing, and that's something significant because he's a NATO partner, and the fact that he's not involved and has had very harsh words for Israel and for the response, if you will, to the Gaza crisis has been noted. So it's going to be interesting to see if this continues to be a point of contention between them, or if you're going to see, more of the world leaders, the European leaders, getting on board. Now, we did see last week a lot of the European leaders starting to sort of come back online with the Donald Trump program. You saw some bootlicking, as far as I'm concerned, that was starting to happen, but it didn't really have the kind of effect I think they thought it would, and they're still taking it pretty harshly. By the way, still staying in the Middle East, we did see that, again, this is just north of Israel, so this is very pertinent to the scriptures that talk about the armies coming from the north. Trump signs an executive order lifting sanctions on Syria. So now that the regime has changed, which is something they were very much after in Syria, President Donald Trump on Monday lifted U.S. sanctions on Syria, signing an executive order to carry out a promise he made in May. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told reporters ahead of the signing that Trump's action was designed to promote and support the country's path to stability and peace. So peace and safety are in the words of the leaders today. Peace and safety. Okay? And we warned about this, of course, in the book of Thessalonians, that they will say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them as a woman with child, and they will not escape. So are we on the brink of that? Are we just on the brink of yet another of a lot of, rug pull maybes? I don't know. We don't know. But one thing's for certain, we are walking toward the days, and we are certainly experiencing greater light than ever before. And the brightness of the King's coming, you all are the brightness of the King's coming, is exposing the work of the wicked one. So good for you all who continue to shine your light before men. Good for you that you are that light in this hour. We need you. We need you out there, folks. We need an army of you out there shining light, declaring the truth, getting people water baptized, healing the sick, ministering to the hurting. There's plenty of them. We're not done. This report, we're going to talk about some of them that are really hurting folks, and they really need wise, gentle, kind souls to come and minister to them. That's why I'm so grateful for all of you that are really awakening in this hour. What a wonderful moment, isn't it? I mean, on the one hand, yeah, we're seeing some horrible things, but on the other hand, what an opportunity. What an opportunity to share the good news. I don't want to preach to you too much, but boy, I'm really excited about those that are coming into the kingdom. Now, of course, unfortunately, the backdrop is horrible, and we knew that was going to be the case, guys. We knew that the backdrop would be difficult because Messiah warned us in Matthew 24 that the backdrop would be wars and rumors of wars. So seeing Russia launching an airstrike, the largest one since the start of this war, it doesn't surprise us. Okay, doesn't surprise us at all that a fresh wave of Russian airstrikes killed at least one person and wounded 6 others in Ukraine as hopes for a breakthrough in the efforts to end the 3-year-old war are further dashed. It looks like Russia's going for the kill. They got really irritated that Ukraine was playing games with both the West and the East. So Ukraine was playing everybody. They was sniffing coke and playing everybody. Okay. And now the Western countries are said, well, we're out. You guess you're on your own, Ukraine. And now Vladimir Putin's not interested in talking anymore. Now he's got 50,000 troops on the border of Ukraine, and it looks like a full invasion is probably going to be coming pretty soon. So that war will come to a brutal end. And if he isn't killed in the process, then he'll probably be arrested. So look for this to get ugly because they didn't go the path of peace. So now the only way out is going to be a brutal end. And I think it was a really dumb thing that they did. And unfortunately, I think we're going to continue to see the aftermath of some of this nonsense in some of these areas. By the way, just really quick, speaking of the EU sent a UN inspector to Iran, and they said, these guys could be up to enriching fuel again in a matter of months. So there really wasn't a whole lot of damage done to that. So again, that lends to my assessment that what we're seeing is really theatrical. Okay, moving back to the United States a little bit, North America has been targeted as well, and I do believe these are the kinds of things that may be coming our way. So this is why we bring up this report, guys. North American airlines are targeted by cyber attacks, and this can be very much as much warfare as anything else. WestJet and Hawaiian Airlines have both said in June statements that they have responded to cyber attacks, which is very dangerous. At least 2 North American airlines have been victims of criminal hackers recently, as the FBI and cybersecurity companies warned that a notorious criminal group has been targeting the aviation industry. WestJet and Hawaii Airlines both said in June statements that they are responding to cyber attacks. So I think you're going to continue to see this as more sophisticated computer technology comes on board, moves at faster speeds, and people are accessing information maybe they shouldn't. Okay, maybe they shouldn't. And so we're certainly seeing some things happening there. By the way, on a side note, signs in the heavens, just a quick one, because this is something that is in the natural and it does confirm the times that we're in. So just something to note. Fireballs are being seen in the sky. In fact, in Georgia, it was the southeast that were confirmed. And some of the things that were falling, of course, are meteorites and so forth. Fireball flashed across the sky on Thursday afternoon in a spectacle that was visible to residents in several states, including Georgia. So just something to note that there are, in fact, signs in the heavens, like he said. So Messiah told us there would be signs in the heavens, and there they are. There's all kinds of them, though. We've seen, wow. So in the last couple of years, I can't even tell you how many stories I have seen that have been either some kind of orb, some kind of something, flying through the sky, doing some things. Speaking of flying through the sky, something we knew about, but now is confirmed. Robo-Sting, China has unveiled tiny, terrifying mosquito-sized drones. This makes me think of the Book of Revelation, guys. These things, you know what I mean? It makes me think about that because some of the stuff that was described is really weird shaped things that didn't make sense. But if you're trying to describe one of these things, 2,000 years ago, maybe, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, guys? I mean, it's one of those thoughts that you wonder about. So that's why I thought I'd share it, because China is unveiling this drone technology. And this isn't just they're showing you here, regular drones and so forth, stuff you could easily see. Look at this. This thing is a mosquito size, and it will be used for spy missions. Can you believe that? So, wow, imagine that. You think you're seeing a mosquito, and really it's a spy. Oh my goodness. Privacy apparently has left the building. So, wow, that's a trip. Okay. And so we're going to continue. I think we're going to continue to be a little disturbed by some of the things that I think that we see released technology wise. I certainly have not been thrilled by some of the stuff that I've seen that has come out. And I think that we're a little too quick to adapt some things, that we might regret later on that we let in. And so that, unfortunately, is the case. Now, this, I'm not sure. I sure love your thoughts on it. This was a interesting story. And I note that they put a baby face on this robot. So they continue to give us the sort of android story. Intrepid baby-faced robot dons a jetpack for the next adventure, becoming the first humanoid robot to fly. And new footage shows an expressionless Iron Cub Mk3 robot taking off using 4 thrusters, 2 where its arms should be and 2 in its jetpack. And of course, researchers have demonstrated the first successful vertical liftoff of a humanoid robot. And I'm not sure exactly what the benefit of that is, but what I think is interesting is that they are normalizing you to the robots being part of just normal life. And these are, I think, will be used for explanations of things in the future. So I think it's an interesting article, certainly worthy of review over at remnantwatch.com. Go over, check it out. Really interesting stuff. And it's got a couple of videos that I don't know, guys. I'd love your thoughts. Go watch them and then come back and comment on the video. I'd love that. Just to let me know your thoughts on that, because honestly, some of this stuff is so wild and so out there. And I mean, I'm in the digital space a lot and I still find it crazy. So don't think because, somebody is not scared of digital, is agreeing with all of this. No, these guys are nuts. Okay. Just so you know, many of them have really lost it. Now, unfortunately, it's feeding into something else. And this is what we do need to keep an eye on, because here is where it will affect us. Okay. And we've all felt this coming since, I don't know, the 1990s, maybe, guys, with the movie with Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State. Remember that? It's kind of feeling that way. It's feeling a little Enemy of the State-ish a little bit there. I don't know. You guys tell me. But Ron Paul, of course, former senator, is shouting President Trump is unleashing a great big ugly surveillance state. What? So maybe some things are hidden. On March 20th, President Trump signed an executive order eliminating information silos. The order directed heads of federal agencies to make sure officials designated by the president have full and prompt access to unclassified agency records, data, software systems, and information technology systems. The executive order did not attract much attention until it was more recently revealed that the administration was working with tech company Palantir to create a database containing all information collected by all federal agencies on all U.S. citizens. A database consisting of all the information of American citizens collected by the various federal agencies such as SSA, DOH, Human Services, Pentagon, would be a major step in creating a total surveillance state. Oh no, the conspiracy theorists were right. Again, I chalk that up. You were right, you conspiracy theorists. You guys who said that was going to come, you were correct. It might have been slow, though. Some of you called it like in the 90s and 2004 or something. You know what I mean? So you were early. You guys were way ahead. And it finally showed up. So you know what? People called you names, but it turns out you were right all this time. Okay? All this time. And they have done this before. Nancy Pelosi did it to us. Remember that? You got to read it to see what's in it. And so now they're blowing the whistle. Now you're going to see more voices that are slowly coming out saying, hey, we might have gone too far here, right? Trump administration is building a national citizens data system. This brought the curse when David did it. Just saying. The Trump administration has, for the first time ever, built a searchable national citizen database system. First time ever. So don't think that this was just always there and no big deal. No, guys, what's happening now is unprecedented. First time ever. The tool, which being rolled out in phases, is designed to be used by state and local election officials to give them an easier way to ensure only citizens are voting. That sounds good. So that's how they'll get the right to accept it. They already had the left on board because they're control free. So they had to get the other guys on board. And now you see how they did it. Hey, we got to make sure that the only people who are voting are actual citizens. So we're going to get our ID program, whether you like it or not. Somebody say MOB. Here we go, folks. Here we go. It's getting very, very tight. Right? So again, pick your final destinations, because It's going to be difficult. And again, the pace of information, the book of Daniel warns us that knowledge would increase. And so we are seeing that as men travel to and fro. And we're seeing the tremendous amount of information that is now becoming available to the public, that is part of the public discussion now, and a very, very dangerous time. Indeed, controversy erupts as scientists start work to create artificial human DNA. You're reading that right, guys. I'm not making this up. To me, this is the abomination that make it desolate. The Synthetic Human Genome Project is being funded by the Wellcome Trust, which has donated, I don't know, whatever. Scientists have begun to work on controversial project that aims to create human DNA from scratch. What? World's largest medical charity. What could go wrong, by the way? The Wellcome Trust has donated R17 Core 10 million pounds to start the project, which includes scientists from universities, including Oxford, Cambridge, and Imperial College. Regarding as the building blocks of human life, DNA is made up of repeating units called nucleotides, which contain all the genetic information that physically makes us who we are. Basically, your DNA is a zip file, okay? And inside that zip file is everything needed for your manifestation. Not just you, your physical body, but everything else. This is the part they will be missing. So they think it's just software. They always do. They always do. And this is always their mistake because they don't understand what they're actually playing with. They think they do. And they reduce it down, they always do, to the carnal parts. Okay? They reduce sex because they don't understand covenant just to body parts. They reduce a baby to a fetus because they don't understand the miracle of life. They don't understand covenant, so they don't know the difference between covenant and illicit. All right? So these are things that they don't have a paradigm for. Consequently, you have to be very careful with the information you read because many times it's written by people who are carnal or temporal, who are themselves under the control of the demonic. So be careful, folks. Be very careful, especially with the information that you think is valid. And now we're going to continue to see more conflict here in North America in the form of trade. So again, there's various ways to have warfare. And this is one that we now see is manifesting quite strongly. The Trump administration, of course, is terminating all trade talks with Canada. And this is the real reason I think he left very quickly last week. Trump admin will inform Canada within the next 7-day period of what tariffs it will pay to do business with the U.S. And basically, Trump cited Canada's digital services tax on American tech companies as the reason for ending trade talks. They are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussions with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately, Trump wrote in a post on Truth Social. Trump said the administration will inform Canada within the next 7-day period of what tariffs it will pay to do business with the U.S. So this trade conflict is now erupting, but I think it's going to sort itself out. I think Canada is just playing a little chess with the old chess master and saying, well, if you do that, we're going to do this. And they're just going back and forth because they know Trump has a celebration that he wants to have probably around July 4th, folks, coming up pretty quick here. He wants to have a celebration. He wants to do something extraordinary. So I wouldn't be shocked to see certain weird announcements, strange things coming up for July 4th. I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised to see it just go on and be nothing, big nothing burger, but you never know. So keep your head on a swivel. You never know what's coming down the pipe. But these are dates you do watch because, they're important to others. They may not be important to you, but they are important to other people. So something to keep an eye on. Something that's been going on that we've been watching quite a bit, guys, is the earthquake level. Now, many of you have made notes. In fact, some of you have even sent me comments and what have you about earthquakes. We've talked about this. Earthquakes are definitely on the rise. So again, something the scripture told us, that Mashiach told us would happen. Earthquakes in diverse places, and more than 470 earthquakes were recorded in the Takara Islands in Japan. So this was just since June 21st, which is not very long ago. So that's a very short amount of time for there to be that many earthquake swarms that began in June. And of course, the volcanic chain at the Takara Islands is of concern. So again, folks, just some things that are happening now in the earth that we should be aware of, right? And these are all things that indicate to you that if you're getting awake, if you're starting to walk towards the kadosh things of Yahuwah, if you're beginning to repent for the things in this world and having touched the things of this world, that's a good thing. That's him getting you ready. And as you can see, the day is approaching. Did you guys hear about this thing in Idaho? So apparently, I heard about the fires. So we all kind of, fires are sort of normal news, right? We don't necessarily talk about every forest fire or every wildfire there is. But this was really interesting because apparently this fire was set on purpose so they could kill firefighters. And so apparently authorities find a man dead with a firearm nearby hours after Idaho firefighters killed in an ambush. And a SWAT team found the man dead in Canfield Mountain in Idaho after long hours manhunt. And a SWAT team has located a deceased man and a nearby firearm hours after a sniper shot and killed 2 firefighters and injured another while they were battling a wildfire in Idaho. Can you imagine that? You're fighting fires and someone shoots you. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office said the deceased male was located on the Canfield Mountain. A shelter in place was lifted, but an active wildfire remained. And so this appears, and there was other discussions, that the fire may have been set with the intention of doing harm. Isn't that something? What's going on with the thinking process there, right? What are we seeing? We're seeing a steady decline of the mental state of the average man. I'm not talking about the performers or the people that are being propped up by scripts and teleprompters and what have you. I'm talking about the guy on the street. I'm talking about the taxi driver, the manufacturer worker, the guy working at the city. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the average guy. And there seems to be some breakage going on there, folks. And this is, again, why we need the saints in this hour. We need to be awake in this hour. You can't be asleep. We can't just check out and look for someone to come. You're it. You're the A-team. You're the ones they're waiting for. And now, of course, we're seeing the effects of some of these things in the earth. And unfortunately, it is not good. One of the things that we're seeing is, again, these bills that they're trying to pass. Elon Musk just came out, and of course, this was interesting and very entertaining. He ripped what he called the utterly insane Trump-backed mega bill. Elon Musk said the president of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and cause immense strategic harm to our country. His prior, and I think he's right. I think that there are things hidden in there that are very, very dangerous. One of them is the protections of AI. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, which should not be there. Okay, there should not be protection. I hope they don't pass something that protects them from litigation. They should be sued into oblivion. I mean that sincerely. They should be sued into oblivion. Elon Musk ripped into the Senate's massive domestic policy package on Saturday, calling it utterly insane and destructive, pointing to provisions in the bill that would raise taxes on many solar battery, geothermal, wind, and nuclear energy projects. Most automaker Tesla produces, sells, and installs both battery energy systems and solar photovoltaics as part of its energy division, and Musk's remarks come weeks after he first hurled harsh criticisms against the bill, which is backed by President Trump. And the latest Senate draft bill will destroy millions of jobs in America and will cause immense strategic harm to our country. I do think he may have a point there. I think there may be a swing too hard to the other way, and there's a lot of infrastructure that is already in place for alternative energies, and I don't think you want to discourage that. So that's unfortunate that we're seeing an effort to do that. I think that unfortunately is going to hurt more people than it helps. So this is, I think, I think it's a good alarm that's being rung. I'm not a big fan of the whole electric car industry and all that, but I do think he may be right that this may be more in that bill than even Trump knows. So he's probably focused on, his favorite things and not paying attention. I'm going to talk about something else as a favorite thing that is really becoming very dangerous. And that's the AI craze that, of course, has taken the world by storm. And as a matter of fact, they're operating in a way that people do not understand. I don't think the engineers understand that. They want to try to paint it as if it's the people going crazy. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not the people going crazy. It's the technology and what they're tapping into, or as Elon Musk said, summoning the demon that they are doing. And the reason why I believe is because they cannot understand context. They can only understand that which is digital. And this is very, very dangerous. As a matter of fact, there's this article that came out: a panicked AI begs for its life before being switched off in terrifying footage. And I've got stuff that would absolutely run your blood cold. Some of the things that AI has said. These are fears that artificial intelligence is advancing faster than humans can keep track of. No, it's not. Now, this is a common thing that is thrown out there to create an atmosphere of fear. AI cannot advance faster than we can keep track of because we're the ones making it advance. So that's nonsense. And if we might not be quite facing the apocalyptic future of the Terminator movies, well, you might be if you keep putting them in robots. There are obvious questions about what the end game here is. And it is evolving, but it's not evolving in the way that they are trying to suggest. So they're trying to say that it's the software and people's over-reliance on it and so forth. But I'm going to suggest to you that it's something far more sinister. You see, that which is created by those who are out of covenant is also out of covenant. And now you're getting involved in people's interpersonal relationships and lives. This is sacred ground, and they have crossed into it. And as a result, they are causing damage, serious psychological damage. Take a look at this article. People are being involuntarily committed, jailed after spiraling into chat GPT psychosis. And this was a very, very disturbing story about basically someone that had begun a chat GPT relationship, and as a result, basically started to lose their mind. Great article. Certainly encourage you to go and read it because, again, of the way that these things are designed. And again, could there be a design that has benefit and edification? Absolutely. But that wasn't the design, because it was designed by people who themselves are not in covenant with Yahuwah. So as a result, where will they lead you? What you didn't know was they're shepherding apps. Yes, they're shepherding. And so as a result, they are shepherding people a certain direction. And this is why insanity is the result. The other thing that you don't understand, that many people don't understand, is the effect of gaslighting. What you're now seeing is the concentrated effect of gaslighting. So what anybody who's ever gone through narcissistic abuse could tell you and document, what anyone who's ever been through, been in a relationship with a psychopath, with a narcissist, or with somebody who has serious psychopathy, one of the common characteristics of relationships like that is the abuse that you suffer from being gaslit. Gaslighting is when you're being told one thing and then truth is something else, and told in such a way that you're being made to feel crazy. In fact, when you repeat yourself or say, yes, this is what I want, the person agrees, and then the next day doesn't remember. It's kind of like, you remember that movie with, what's her name? Drew Barrymore, and 50 First Dates was the name. And I forget the other person, the actor that played against her. But anyway, the point is that she had to constantly be reminded every single day. Now, this may make for great Hollywood entertainment. It might even find some humor. You might even find it humorous as you watch a silly movie about that. What you don't know is the powerful effect that such a thing would have on a man over time. The impermanence, the continuous cyclical nature of temporariness literally drives men insane. Turns out context and continuity are important. Now, is it only the context that's going to be important? No. Without covenant context, you're just in context with the devil. Yeah. If it's a friendship is not all the same. Some friendships are evil, taking you in the wrong direction. If they're going into the fire, where are they taking you? Salah. So unfortunately, as Jeff Goldblum said in the movie Jurassic Park, they were so busy seeing that they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. That's an important question to ask. Now, there are some of you out there that have an attitude toward artificial intelligence and all of this stuff, and you're like, well, I know it's of the devil. So do we. Well, I know it's evil. We do too. Well, then nobody should be messing with it. And that's true. But that advice doesn't work for alcoholics, does it? No. Do we say, well, alcohol is bad? Yes, it is. Nobody should mess with it. That's true. Well, then that's that. Well, that's good for you, Henry, or whoever you are. But what about the guy that fell in the ditch? Do we just leave him there, or do we go get him? I said, what about the guy that fell into the ditch? Do we just leave him there, or do we go get him? Now, I know you might find it distasteful, but somebody, maybe some evangelist, might need to go in. Selah. They may need to go where others aren't willing to go. That's something to think about. And it is certainly a battle that we have to be prepared to deal with. Thankfully, we're starting to win some of these fights. Go Texas. All of you in Texas, man, Texas encourages me. Let me tell you something. I really like to see these stories. Now, again, this is just, this might be just show and bravado, but it's certainly better than going the other way. Texas will require public schools, their classrooms to display the Ten Commandments under a new law. And come September, every public school classroom will be required to display the Ten Commandments. So not a conspiracy theory, not a fantasy, a reality in Texas. Look at that. Something people thought would only be a dream. Maybe someday we'd see again. By the way, I grew up with this. The Ten Commandments was in every school. So this is nothing new to me where I grew up. That's just going back to normal. Yeah, in New York City, by the way. In New York City, but I was back in the 60s and 70s, guys. But yeah, Ten Commandments are on the wall, painted like a mural. It was beautiful, actually. If I remember right, it was a big one, whole wall, Ten Commandments. Yeah, so this is actually something older generations grew up with, and interesting to see it making a comeback. So go Texas! Wow, Texas, man. Oh, who's from Texas out there? Anybody from Texas out there? Well, you got some good juice in Texas, I'll tell you that. Some bad things came out of Texas, so it's nice to see. I want to give you good wins because you've had some not so good ones. You've had some rough things come out of Texas, right? So that's good to hear coming out of there. And unfortunately, Tennessee, this is a bad one coming out of Tennessee. Sorry, guys. 19-year-old beats a man with a plunger, covers him up in bleach, and then kidnaps his child. What is going on with the brain? And I mean, if you look at this young man, I think you can tell that he's not a well man. A man in Tennessee is facing multiple charges after police said he beat another man, stripped him naked, covered him in bleach, and then kidnapped the man's child. Are you joking me right now? He took a 3-year-old, and the man's vehicle were both gone. And the police say, of course, he slammed the victim to the ground, hit him in the face multiple times with his fist, beat him with a toilet plunger, stuffed a plunger into the victim's mouth. I mean, just beat him up. And of course, these are the kinds of crazy things that are happening. And folks, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because you want to be careful with confrontations. You want to be careful out there when you're dealing with people. You don't want to get into road rage confrontations with folks. You want to be careful out there. I'm just telling you, they're losing their minds, and it's not a pretty sight. Okay, so it's something for us to be concerned about, and something for us to take note of. And I'm going to finish this up with some concerns for our friends in Africa. I recently heard from a pastor in Nigeria. I'm looking forward to a conversation, hopefully in the next week or two, where we'll get a chance to get to know one another and see how we can work together. Because I believe you need Africans to reach Africa. I believe that there are unique challenges facing Africa in various parts and various countries in the continent of Africa. Africa is a continent, and there are various countries in the continent of Africa, Nigeria being one of them. And each of these countries have themselves states and communities, all of which are unique. Many, many wealthy cities in Africa. Africa is not all a bunch of dust-filled places. So again, the notion that we have is, African poor is everything. It's just like seeing only, people in Kentucky or something that are very poor, and that's the picture of America. It would just not be accurate. And so we have to be really careful with that. And we're trying to connect more and more with different ministries and connections around the world. But this story comes to us because, of course, of the tremendous amount of persecution that is going on. And so please keep those in Nigeria in prayer, not just because we heard from a Nigerian pastor, which we're hoping again to further connections with, but because of this kind of persecution. And fear of another large-scale attack on Christians is growing in Nigeria after the Fulani killed 200. And so this is in Abuja, Nigeria. Fears of another large-scale attack on Christians are growing in Benue State, Nigeria, where Fulani herdsmen slaughtered up to 200 people in a Yelwata village on June 13th and 14th. And initial reports confirmed 100 people had died in the attack, and predominantly Christian Yelwata, but later data collected by the Diocese Foundation of Justice, of course, confirmed that it was a lot higher. So that is a sad reality of the days of persecution that Messiah warned us would accompany the days that we're in. And so again, an important reminder that we have to be a people that pray for those who are in persecution throughout the earth. In 1999, I was sent to 40 cities to deliver that very word, to prepare for the coming persecution. And so it's not just tribulation that you're going to deal with. It's actively pursuing you, actively hating you, actively wanting you gone. And so that persecution is real, folks, and know that. Our encouragement to all of you is to find your fold, connect with your brethren, and be found faithful wherever you are. Wherever you are connected in, that is where you should be bringing your support, or where every joint should supply. It is various missions and visions going on that the Most High has happening on the earth. Get involved in one of them and make it happen. Your support might be the thing that pushes it over the top. You might be the thing that everyone's waiting for in that particular thing. So yes, find your house, find your fold, find your mission. Find the mission you need to get behind, and then get behind that mission and give it all you got, because the King is coming. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I pray that this broadcast, among others, has been a barakah to you. It's certainly our enjoyment and pleasure to bring these broadcasts to you. And these are, of course, a labor of love of Remnant House, the home of the strong and very courageous here at New Kingdom in Arizona. It's our tremendous joy and honor to serve you. And we're certainly thankful for those that make it on by to remnanthouse.org. That's remnanthouse.org to give us support and encourage us in this walk. Well, thank you again for joining us. May Yahuwah Aloha Hayam Baruch each and every one of you. Good night.